Hello, everybody. Hello, YouTube. Hello, art history enthusiasts and visual culture aficionados. It's me again, Miss Anne, and I'm back with yet another video. This time, I'm going to bring you one of the articles that I promised from my last coffee break. I did this yesterday. Enablers Act and Art Crimes Coffee Break with Miss M. And in this video, I kind of ran down some of the articles that I wanted to read to you from, I think it's Art News and the New York Times. I'm going to do one of those today. Now, before I get started, I know that some of you are anxiously awaiting my next Shining video, and that's going to be coming up, God willing, this coming week. I'm going to be making that video Wednesday night, so stay tuned. I don't have the capabilities of like setting reminders or notifying people that I've got a video cooking and it's on the way or whatever. I don't have enough subscribers for that yet, which brings me to church announcements. Hello, once again, all 79 of you, my 79 subscribers, thank you so much for subscribing. Those of you who are returning viewers, thank you for returning. Those of you who are new viewers, thank you for being new. And each and every single last one of you, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and share this video with anybody that you might know who you think would enjoy my nonsense. Okay, I'm having a great time. I'm going to be coming up with the Shining video. Gabriel M. You know how I always kind of bellyache about not having a lot of subscribers. He said maybe, you know, the algorithm is funky. And maybe one day I'll make a video that goes viral. Let's hope so, Gabriel. Let's hope so. Maybe that'll be this video that I'm going to do right now, because I'm going to be talking about a controversial figure. Before I get into that, let me get into the second half of church announcements. The paid promotion portion of the thing, this thing. I am going to be shouting these out in my videos until I run out of them. This is a series of books by Jürgen Müller. This one is Movies of the 20s. They've got a bunch of them. They've got the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and etc. So I decided I would start with this one, The Birth of Cinema, from the invention of the moving picture to the first sound movies, from the first moving pictures, the Lumiere brothers, 1895, La Rive d'un Train, early westerns, fantastic pictures, and Nickelodeons, all the way through the golden age of the silent film in the 1920s. This book covers the first 3 decades of the moving picture around the world. This looks fun to me. This looks great to me. And it's affordable, I think. So I'm going to leave the link for this thing in the description. Okay. And you've got Marlene Dietrich on the cover from The Blue Angel. I think that's the name of the movie. And the next one, I've already featured this on my Twitter, but I'm featuring it again because I love it so much. And this is dangerous. I should have never started doing these Amazon affiliate links because, golly, I want to buy all of these. This is a set of German Expressionist films, the German Expressionism Collection, The Hands of Orlok, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, Secrets of the Soul, and Warning Shadows by Kino Lorber Films. So it's a DVD set, $169.89 for 4 movies. That's, I guess, reasonable, right? So you guys, if you're interested in this kind of thing, this looks awesome. Absolutely awesome. Is there a description? No. Good. That means I don't have to do that much reading. Now, I'm already saying things that I might want to shout out in future videos, like this Alfred Hitchcock thing. Never mind. Oh, Hammer Horror. What is this? Yeah, next time. Ooh, Classic Monster. What? Oh, no. No. But listen, I'm going to put links to these in the description. If you're interested, take a look. you want to add this to your collection of books and or movies, do it. I would, if I had the cash, I definitely would. But now that I've got that out the way, all right, let me get into it. Like I said, the last video I did was this coffee break video about the Enablers Act. And it's not a crime video because, well, it's just talking about this act that they're trying to, a bill that they're trying to pass into a law. So that's not really criminal. But this, I'm going to put this, yes, this is the one I'm going to read to you today. I'm going to put this in the art crimes section, not because there's necessarily a crime that's been committed here, but it comes from a book called Art and Crime, The Fight Against Looters, Forgers, and Fraudsters in the High-Stakes Art World, as you can see here. This is from July. This article is from July 5th. The article is really just an excerpt from the book. So, let me just get into it. I hope it doesn't take too long. My gosh. When Donald Trump raised the Bonwit Teller building, he promised the Met, that's the Metropolitan Museum of Art, its Art Deco friezes. A new book details how he pulverized them instead. I don't care what you think about Donald Trump. This looks like an interesting story to me. All right? That man and his moves that he makes are, you don't have to like him, you don't have to hate him, you don't have to feel any way about him. At the very least, he's entertaining. He's not boring. How about that? Whether you hate watch him or love watch him, there's always something to watch. That's the point. You're never going to be without something to watch when you're dealing with this character. That is Donald Trump. And I do believe it is a character. I don't believe that that's who he really is as a person, what we see on TV. But let me just get into this. So, yeah, I already read the headline, the title. Let me get into the article. I guess this is the Bonwit Teller department store, a picture of it, right, from the, I guess, 1920s, right? Art Deco, 20s, 30s. It looks beautiful. It sure does. Now, let me get into this article. Or rather, again, an excerpt from the book, Art and Crime. Okay. And I do have a copy of this book at home, so they can't tell me that I didn't spend money on this. No. Donald Trump's relationship to the Metropolitan Museum of Art was permanently damaged early on. He refused to donate artworks that he had promised to the museum and instead had them destroyed, along with a venerable building that had played an important role in American art history. At that site, the intersection of 5th Avenue and 56th Street in Manhattan, at which Trump constructed his prestige project, Trump Tower, between 1980 and 1982. The flagship store of the luxury department store chain, Bonwit Teller and Company, had earlier stood. The 1929 building was the work of the same architects who had designed Grand Central Terminal, Whitney Warren, and Charles Wetmore. It was intended originally to house the women's department store steward, Bonwit Teller, who took over, excuse me, I'm going to be making mistakes and you're just going to have to forgive me. Please do forgive me. It was intended originally to house the women's department store steward, period. Bonwit Teller, who took over the building in 1930 and opened it anew, soon worked with world-famous artists. Starting in 1936, the Spanish surrealist artist Salvador Dalí regularly decorated the windows with spectacular installations. For example, in 1939, working with the theme Night and Day. In the 1950s, Jasper Johns and Robert Rauschenberg worked for the company on the side as window dressers, using the pseudonym Matson Jones. Among other things, Jones displayed his now iconic painting Flag on Orange Field behind a mannequin in the windows in 1957. That same year, in the same place, Rauschenberg showed his red Combine painting along with others. 2 years earlier, the large photographic work Blue Ceiling Matson Jones could be seen in the background of the Bonwit Teller windows. In 1959, James Rosenquist was also working for the department store. A half-century later, he recalled, "By the late 1950s, I'd begun to lead a double life. In the daytime, I painted billboards and designed display windows for Bonwit Teller, Tiffany's, and Bloomingdale's. At night and on weekends, I hung out with artists and painted. In 1961, 5 large-format paintings by the then almost completely unknown artist Andy Warhol stood and were hung in the windows on Fifth Avenue. Warhol was then earning his living mostly with advertising assignments, starting in 1951 with work for Bonwit Teller display director Gene Moore. At the time, this descendant of Carpatho-Russian immigrants was not taken seriously as a painter. 10 years later, Warhol changed his approach, putting his own works in the windows of Bonwit Teller, and his global career took off. Today, a museum director would kill for one of those paintings, among them the now famous Blast with its Superman theme, and Before and After, one, which depicts a nose job. For more than 50 years, Bonwit Teller had an eye for the New York avant-garde art scene. As the scholarly publication The Art Story summarized the meaning of this New York art site. Under Moore's direction in the mid-century, Bonwit Teller gave many modern artists their start in the world of art and design. With free creative reign, avant-garde artists experimented in the department store window, turning a glass case into an alternative art space and introducing the public to new and exciting styles. The part of the story of art, the part of the history of art and of New York City appears to have, This part of the history of art and of New York City appears to have eluded Donald Trump, and that's not all. The developer wasn't even willing to save the artworks inside the building from destruction, breaking a promise to the renowned Metropolitan Museum of Art, which is nearby, because profit and time were dearer to him than culture. Okay, now I'm gonna interject with my own observation. Why was it his responsibility? Like, how did that happen? I don't know if they're going to explain it, but I'm just asking at this point the question, like, why did he have to give them the art or whatever was inside before the building was demolished? Like, why didn't the prior owners of the building take care of that? Like, before Donald Trump showed up with his bulldozers, like, I don't, or wrecking balls or whatever. That, I'm sure there's an explanation, but like, why aren't they mad at the previous owners? I understand, if they had a deal or an agreement or an arrangement or whatever with Trump and he like went back on that, okay, that's not good. But like, where were the prior owners? Where were the previous owners that owned the Bonwit Teller building? Why didn't they do that before the sale had concluded? They knew they were going to sell the place. Like, I don't know. I must be missing something. All right, let me keep it moving. After all, Trump hadn't bought the Bonwit Teller building for $15 million in 1979 when the department store went bankrupt in order to preserve an historical monument. He wanted to create a monument to himself, Trump Tower. The demolition was already decided upon when the contracts were signed, and the art that decorated the building was only of interest to the developer for a short time, when he believed that he could do some business with it and buff up his reputation. Trump's eternal principle when it comes to art. Okay, I read that like kind of awkwardly, but I guess you know what I mean. Close to the top of the 11-story building, where two limestone relief panels of 2 nearly naked women brandishing large scarves as if dancing, in which the Metropolitan Museum of Art had expressed a strong interest for its sculpture collection. The Metropolitan, one of the largest and most important museums in the world, had also wanted to add its department to its Department of Applied 20th Century Art the 6 by 9 meter geometric patterned bronze lattice work that hung over the entrance at Bonwit Teller. By all accounts, Trump had agreed to donate both if his workers were able to remove them from the walls. The New York Times and the Washington Post reconstructed what happened next. Their investigations demonstrated not just that Trump broke his promise and destroyed valuable art. The journalists discovered that when his cultural crime caused an uproar, Trump hid behind a pseudonym and lied to the public. What followed was a display of arrogance, excuse-making, and avoidance of tough questions that is familiar to anyone who has observed Trump's interactions with the media throughout his campaign for the White House. Wait a minute. Hold on, wait a minute. Broke his promise and destroyed valuable art. The journalists discovered that Trump hid behind a pseudonym and lied to the public. This is weird. This is weird. This is weird. Something doesn't make sense here. I don't know what it is, but something isn't. They're not. Oh. And you know that feeling that you get when you know something is off, but you can't figure out what it is? That's the feeling I'm having right now reading this. Now, again, this is not pro or anti-Trump, this video, but this is like I'm analyzing this art and crime excerpt from this book about art and crime. I still don't see where the crime is. Like, you know, if it was a crime, like, they probably would have arrested him or sued him or something like that. I guess they just had a verbal agreement, Trump and the Metropolitan Museum, and he went back on it, I guess, that from what this sounds like. But, like, why did he do that? I don't understand that part. Why did he do that? It's not making sense. This makes me want to research. This makes me want to, like, dig in and find out, like, what's up with this Bonwit Teller building that he destroyed to make Trump Tower. This is the story of the building of Trump Tower and the art that was in the old building that stood there before Trump built Trump Tower. So, something's going on here. Something is going on here. Okay. When journalists inquired about the Trump organization, When journalists inquired of the Trump organization about the existence of the 2 limestone Art Deco friezes, a spokesperson going by the name John Barron replied, please bear in mind that Trump named his latest child with Melania Barron, so this is his fake name. I'll read that again. When journalists inquired of the Trump organization about the existence of the 2 limestone Art Deco friezes, a spokesperson going by the name John Barron replied, 3 independent experts had found that the works had no artistic value and were worth at most an estimated $9,000. According to Barron, the removal would have cost $32,000 and would have meant a week and a half delay of the demolition work. The alleged costs for the delay were later calculated by Trump's side to be $500,000. The next day, Barron was quoted as saying that the bronze lattice work that had hung over the entrance to the Bonwit Teller building was also missing. We don't know what happened to it. The artist Otto J. Tegan, who had designed the piece in 1930, responded, it's not a thing you could slip in your coat and walk away with. It's odd that a person like Trump, who is spending $80 million or $100 million on this building, should squirm that it might cost as much as $32,000 to take down those panels. What the hell? Okay, I'm confused. I'm officially... This is the book, by the way. If you want to go ahead and buy this. I have a copy. I bought this. As exciting to read as any thriller. Okay. Art and Crime, the fight against looters, forgers, and fraudsters in the high-stakes art world. Stefan Kaldehoff and Tobias Timm, translated by Paul David. Oh, so this book was originally written in another language. Okay, good to know. The journalists didn't give up searching for these artworks that had been promised to the American public. 3 days later, the New York Times wrote, "Repeated efforts over the last 3 days to reach Mr. Trump have been unavailing. On the 4th day, the real estate developer contacted the journalist and explained that he had ordered the destruction of the Bonwit Teller reliefs himself, because their removal could have cost more than $500,000 in taxes, demolition delays, and other expenses, and might have endangered passing pedestrians on Fifth Avenue. My biggest concern was the safety of the people on the street below," said the 33-year-old developer, who contended that cranes, scaffolding, and the most careful handling could not have assured the safe removal of the cracked and weathered 2-ton limestone panels from high on the building's facade. "If one of those stones had slipped," he said, "people could have been killed. To me, it would not have been worth that kind of risk." In truth, Trump's biographer, Harry Hurt III, confirmed Trump himself ensured that the workers were told to remove the bronze lattice work over the entrance work with blowtorches, separate the friezes from the walls with jackhammers, and break them off with crowbars, and throw them down into the interior of the building, where they shattered into a million pieces. Ashton Hawkins, vice president and secretary of the board of trustees of the Met, was among those outraged and told the New York Times in June 1980, "How extraordinary. I know that there was an offer of a gift in the event that the objects could be saved. I would think that would be sufficient to guide them in their actions. We are certainly very disappointed and quite surprised." Hawkins dismissed with a single sentence Trump's argument that the sculptures had no value. "Can you imagine the museum accepting them if they were not of artistic merit? The reliefs are as important as the sculptures on the Rockefeller building," elaborated the gallerist Robert Miller, who had assessed the reliefs earlier. "They'll never be made again." Oof. I still don't know what to think. Today, as president, Trump labels everything that doesn't conform to his political ideas fake news, but he had to admit that he had adopted a false identity to explain his point of view to the public. The alleged press spokesperson, John Barron, who sometimes called himself Barron and occasionally identified himself as vice president of the Trump Organization, was none other than Trump himself. In a legal proceeding in the United States District Court for the Southern District of New York in Manhattan concerning the illegal employment of Polish workers in the building of Trump Tower for $4 an hour, Trump admitted that he and one of his executives have used the name John Barron in some of their business dealings. Outside the courthouse, he explained confidently, "Lots of people use pen names. Ernest Hemingway used one. Sometimes he used the alias John Miller for statements such as those about famous women like Madonna or Kim Basinger, who supposedly wanted to meet Trump. In March 2006, Melania and Donald Trump named their son Barron." Two contemptuous statements Trump made later in 1980 show that the Bonwit Teller affair, which did long-term damage to his reputation in New York's intellectual circles, continued to trouble Trump. At an event in the Grand Hyatt Hotel in Manhattan, Trump, its owner, expressed his concern about the table decorations made out of gold mylar and the lion's head medallions over the entrance to the ballroom. "Real art, not like the junk I destroyed at Bonwit Teller." Ooh. And in the summer of that year, a New York Times story quoted Trump. "There is nothing I would like to do more than give something to a museum," he said in a recent interview. "Why? I've always been interested in art." A visitor observed that there was no art in Mr. Trump's office. The developer considered this for a moment. Then, with a smile, he pointed to an idealized illustration of Trump Tower hanging on one of the walls. "If that isn't art," Mr. Trump said, "then I don't know what is." Whew. Wow. Wow. Okay. Now, bear in mind, I still don't know what to think about this. That last sentence might be the linchpin that kind of, or the thread that if you pull on it, it'll unravel the whole mystery. If that isn't art, Mr. Trump said, then I don't know what is. He pointed to a picture of a photo of Trump Tower on the wall in his office. He might be saying something really very complicated there. I don't know what to think. I don't know what to think. Like, ooh, wow. Wow. This story, I'm glad I read it, and I'm glad I brought it to you to for your consideration. There's a lot to process and a lot to digest here. If for those of you who are kind of conspiracy minded, kind of like me, you've seen what I've done with The Shining. Whether or not what I've done is okay, or I did a good job or a bad job, I don't know, but I did it. I tried. So you know how closely I like to observe things, and how many questions I like to ask, and how much I like to consider whether or not something makes sense. This story that I just read from this excerpt from this book, Art and Crime, about Trump demolishing this building, and I guess the grill or the lattice work they're talking about this here, above the doorway to enter the place. Something's going on. Something is going on. Something is going on. Something is going on, and yeah, obviously, if he had like any kind of agreement with the Metropolitan Museum of Art, whether it was a verbal one or I doubt that it was like a contractual agreement of any kind, but it sounds like he just verbally said, yeah, I'll give you the things, but he did put a condition on it. He said, if I can remove them, then I'll give them to you. Okay. And he didn't give them to the museum. And it was one of these instances where he used like a fake name to communicate with the media and with the public. John Barron, John Miller, whatever. Okay. What he did, basically, yeah, let's just face facts, was a big fat middle finger to the Metropolitan Museum. It was insulting, and he did it I think he did it in an effort to be inflammatory. I think he did it purposely, deliberately to, excuse me. He did it purposely, deliberately to piss them off. Whether or not it would have cost him more money to remove the artwork safely and, transfer it over to them, I don't know, but like, for some reason he pissed them off because I also, this is my opinion, I think he wanted to piss them off. He knew that they would be upset and that they would feel like they got mistreated by him, or gypped, or what's the other word, betrayed, or just, that he had lied to them, right? Now, why did he want to piss them off? Again, whatever opinion you have of this figure, Donald Trump, whether it's a good opinion or a bad opinion, when people mention his name, whether people like him, love him, hate him, whatever, everybody has a very, very strong emotional reaction to this man and his, whatever he's been up to. Not just, since 2016 or 15 or, no, for like his whole life. His whole life and all of his professional dealings and everything is being scrutinized very closely now by a lot of people. Why? I don't know. I don't have those answers. I have my suspicions. Sure I do. Am I ready to share them here? No, y'all ain't ready. That's why I'm being I'm holding back. I am holding back. Y'all ain't ready. Y'all ain't ready for what I would like to say about this. Something is up. Is Donald Trump a villain in this story? I don't think so. I'll go so far as to say that I don't think that in this story he's a villain. Why do I feel that way? I don't know. My gut is just telling me that. I can't explain it. I cannot explain it. This man has courted, actively, deliberately, courted controversy for basically his whole adult life, his whole professional life in the public eye. With just about every move he's made, he's done it in an effort to be seen and to be the topic of discussion on the news or whatever. He wants people to see what he's doing. He wants people to keep an eye on him. For whatever reason, I don't know. Everybody says it's because he's egotistical, he's megalomaniac. Maybe. That's part of it. Maybe. Or maybe it's not. Maybe he's the exact opposite of what he portrays to the public, to the media. And in this situation, like, what was he trying to do? He was trying to piss off the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City. Why? Why did he not want to play nice with them? That's my question. It's a serious question. Especially, I cover art. I cover art history. I cover visual culture. I do film analysis and stuff like that. And I also do art crime and happenings or whatever. I try to discuss a little bit of everything in that area, in that field, on this channel. And I'm doing this today. This is the first time I've really mentioned Donald Trump. Well, I don't know. It's probably not going to get me very many viewers. Even if I had designs on doing like clickbaity titles or whatever for my videos, I doubt that the algorithm would let it through. I really do. Gabriel, I don't know if this is going to be the one, Gabriel, if you're listening. But we'll see. I'm going to upload this and see what happens. You guys, I know he's a contentious figure. I know people have all kinds of opinions about him. Whether they're positive or negative opinions, they're very strong opinions. If you have an opinion about Donald Trump, like I said, whether it's a positive one or a negative one, it's a very strong one. And again, I think that he's actively courted that. He wants people to have strong opinions about him. Something's going on. Something's going on. What it is, I'm not sure. I have my ideas, but I don't think you're ready for them. So, with that being said, you guys, I am going to go ahead and wrap it up. Once again, I appreciate every single last one of you. Please, once again, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Okay? Returning viewers, thank you for returning. New viewers, thank you for being new. I appreciate you all, every single last one of you. If you don't like this, hit the dislike button. Tell me what I did wrong in the comments. Okay? Tell me what's up. I would love to know. I want to be better. So, yeah, I think that's that for today. Like I said, I'm going to do everything in my power to get a shining video out Wednesday night or early Thursday morning. I'm going to have to get my screenshots together in my little PowerPoint presentation and figure that thing out. I've got some things cooking with that. I've got some stuff that I've been thinking about turning over and over and over and over, again and again and again in my head. But we shall. I might even do a shining coffee break, like after I come up with my next installment in my shining series. So stay tuned, you guys. Stay tuned. Here in Los Angeles, California, it is hotter than hell. It's too much. It's going to be like 102 degrees tomorrow. I don't know. I might just dissolve into a puddle, and that'll be it. But you guys, until then, enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your 3-day weekend. And until the next time I come back and find yet another reason to talk at you, I wish you well, and I'm going to go ahead and bid you bye-bye. So, bye-bye, everybody.